Chapter 4 Water. Warm up. Where do you get water from? Write the names of any four sources of water. Let's start. Sources of water. Rain is the main source of water. The other sources of water are lakes, ponds, rivers, seas, and oceans. During earlier times, there were no taps or pumps. People had to walk long distances to bring water in pots, buckets, etc. Bowlies. A bowlie is a huge well. It has steps to reach to the bottom. In earlier times, bowlies were built to collect and store rainwater. A bowlie is also called a step well. These are used as a meeting place by people. Bowlies are common in Rajasthan and Gujarat. Bowli. Changes in sources of water. In ancient times, women used to walk many kilometers every day to fetch drinking water from a well. To take a bath and wash clothes, they used water from a nearby pond. Then a hand pump came into use. Then electric pumps were installed which pulled the groundwater to fill up the overhead tank. From the overhead tank, water came to the taps in the kitchen. Interesting facts. Bundi in Rajasthan is called the city of step wells because it has 381 bowlies. Piaus. Many people serve free water to people on the roadsides. Piau can be seen along the roadsides. Some people organize free water camps to provide drinking water to people. It is a common sight to see earthen pots filled with water and kept on the roadside under tree for the use of people. Means of irrigation. In India, our fields are irrigated with the rains that we get during monsoons, but it is unevenly distributed. So, we need some artificial means to water our crops timely. This is called irrigation. The different sources of irrigation in our country are wells, tube wells, tanks, and canals. Different crops have different water requirements. For example, rice crop requires more water. Wheat crop requires to be irrigated at different stages. Crops like sugarcane, rubber, and tea require less water. Well, tube well, tank, canal. Rice crop, wheat crop. Well, a well is a deep hole in the ground where water is available. The water is drawn out using a pulley. A rope attached to a basket is pulled over the pulley to draw the water out. The string goes around the grooves of the pulley. Tube wells. Tube wells are used to draw underground water by means of electric pumps. When the water is found deep under the ground, tube well is the best method to draw out that water. The bore is dug deep and tubes are sunk in it. Tube wells are widely used by the farmers because it is an easy method of irrigation. Tanks. In some places, like the southern plateau, the ground is hard. It is very difficult to dig wells there. During the rainy season, some low-lying areas get filled with water. These are called tanks. This water is used to irrigate the fields during the dry season. Canals. Canals are small channels dug to take water out from the rivers and irrigate the fields. Devices used for irrigation. The crops and fields are irrigated by tube wells, canals, and lakes. Some devices that are used for irrigation are sprinklers. Water is distributed through the pipes at regular intervals using a pump. Irrigating crops in this way gives the effect of rainfall. The sprinkler system helps to save water. Water wheel. A water wheel consists of a large wheel mounted vertically on a horizontal axis. A number of blades or buckets are arranged on its outside rim, forming the driving surface. When the water strikes the buckets, the wheel rotates and the water in the buckets fall on the other side and is directed into water channels to irrigate the crops. Windmill, water pump. Windmill. In some places, wind energy is used to draw water from wells. Water pump. Motorized water pumps are also used to draw underground water to irrigate fields. Floating and sinking. There are some objects that float on water and some that sink in water. Whether the object floats or sinks in water depends on its density. Density is the amount of matter present in a given volume of a material. Interesting facts. An egg will float if we add sugar to water. Objects like iron, nails, coins, and stones sink in water because they are denser than water. Objects like cork, thermocol, and plastic toy float on water because they are less dense than water. When an object is put in water, it tries to push aside the water below it with its weight and takes up the space. Water also exerts an upward force on the object, which is called buoyancy. If the object displaces water equal to its weight in water, it floats. But if the weight of the object is more than the water it displaces and sinks. Soluble and insoluble. Substances are said to be soluble in a liquid when they dissolve easily in it. For example, if you put sugar in water, it mixes with the water and becomes a part of it. The water now tastes sweet. This mixture of sugar and water is called a solution. The sugar is called the solute and the water that dissolves the solute is called the solvent. When substances are not soluble in a liquid, they do not dissolve in it. They are said to be insoluble. For example, if you add sand to water, you can see that the particles of sand do not mix, even if the particles are very small. If you pour the mixture through a cloth filter, the liquid goes through, but the insoluble substance will be left behind on the cloth. Sugar, water, sugar solution. Interesting facts. Water is called a universal solvent as it can dissolve many substances. Miscible and immiscible. Liquids which mix with each other are called miscible liquids. For example, lime juice and water. Add a few drops of oil to water and stir. The oil will not mix with water. It will separate out and float on the water surface. Water and oil do not get mixed. They are said to be immiscible liquids. Measuring liquids. Liquids do not have a definite shape. They take the shape of the container they are poured in. But liquids have a definite volume. The volume of a liquid is always equal to the inner volume of the container. The volume of a liquid is measured in liters. The small unit of volume is milliliter, which is denoted by ml. A measuring cylinder is a cylinder with markings that indicate the volume in liters and milliliters. Vocabulary. Rain. The drops of water that fall from the sky. Earthen pots, a pot made of baked or fired clay. Sprinkler, a device with holes in it that sends out water in small drops. Density, the relation of the weight of a substance to its size. Recap, rain is the main source of water. A Bauli is a huge well. The different sources of irrigation in our country are wells, tube wells, tanks, and canals. Wells are dug to bring the underground water to the surface. When the water is found deep under the ground, tube well is the best method to draw out that water. Different crops require different amount of water. Different devices used for irrigation are sprinklers, water wheels, windmill and water pump.